Símbolo de luna creciente, en la iglesia de Córdoba, un sacerdote enfrentó un mal que no podía comprender. Lo que encontró en la oscuridad cambiará para siempre todo lo que creía sobre los exorcismos. ¿Te atreves a acompañarlo hasta el final y descubrir lo que acecha en las sombras? The sun had long disappeared behind the jagged mountains surrounding Córdoba. A cold wind swept through the empty streets, carrying the scent of dust and decay. Padre Manuel tightened his grip on the wooden crucifix he carried. The church doors cracked as he pushed them open, the echo bouncing across the empty nave. Candles flickered weakly, casting trembling shadows on the stone walls. A faint smell of incense lingered, mixed with something far foul. The room at the back of the church was where the villagers whispered evil at taken root. He entered cautiously, every step stirring up clouds of dust that tickled his throat. A low vibrated in the air, almost as if the building itself was alive. The girl lay in the center of the room, her body contorted unnaturally. Her eyes, wide and unblinking, reflected the candlelight like twin orbs of fire. Padre Manuel whispered prayers under his breath, feeling the sweat gather on his brow. The temperature dropped suddenly, and his breath emerged in small, white clouds. A shadow moved along the wall, but there was no one there. The hum grew louder, forming words that crawled under his skin. Erased the crucifix and began the exorcism, voice trembling yet firm. The girl's voice emerged, low and guttural, not her own. It hissed insults in languages he had never learned. The candles flickered violently, smoke curling like serpents toward the ceiling. Suddenly, the floor beneath him vibrated, and stumbled backward. The shadows in the corners of the room began to twist, reaching toward him. A scream tore from the girl's throat, sharp and piercing, echoing in the empty church. Padre Manuel felt a hand grip his ankle. He looked down, expecting the girl, but the floor was empty. The crucifix slipped from his hands, clattering to the stone floor. The shadows surged, swallowing the light, and the hum became a roar. A voice, deep and hollow, whispered directly into his mind, "You are a too late." He fell to his knees, earth hammering, unable to move or speak. The girl's body arched violently, her head snapping back, revealing eyes now black as night. A final scream ripped through the church, and then silence. Padre Manuel opened his eyes. The girl lay still, as if asleep, but he knew the darkness had not left. The smell of incense was gone, replaced by a cold, metallic tang. He stepped outside into the night, but the wind carried a whisper he could not shake. Somewhere in the shadows of Córdoba, something had followed him. He had survived the final exorcism, but the nightmare had just begun. Padre Manuel walked the empty cobblestone streets, the moonlight barely illuminating the path ahead. Every step echoed, though no one followed, or so he told himself. The wind whispered through the alleys, carrying voices that were almost human. He felt the shadows move at the corner of his eyes, always retreating when he looked directly. His hands trembled as he reached the steps of his small rectory. Inside, the faint glow of the candle on his desk offered little comfort. He tried to pray, but the words caught in his throat. The darkness from the church clung to him, like an invisible weight pressing against his chest. A sudden tapping at the window made him startle, heart racing. He approached slowly, squinting into the night. Nothing. Only the faint rustle of leaves. Then the tapping returned, louder, insistent, almost impatient. Padre Manuel felt it in his bones, he was not alone. He reached for his crucifix, but it had vanished. A cold draft blew through the room, extinguishing the candle flame. In the darkness, he heard whispers, faint but unmistakable. They were speaking his name, mocking him, promising he could not hide. A shadow detached itself from the far corner, moving toward him without a sound. The floorboards groaned under invisible weight. Padre Manuel backed away, earth hammering, eyes straining to pierce the darkness. The whispers grew louder, overlapping in a cacophony that made his head ache. Then saw it, an outline, tall and twisting, with eyes that glimmered red in the faint moonlight. The room seemed to shrink around him, pressing in, suffocating. He tried to speak, to command it in the name of God, but his voice failed. The shadow reached out, and he felt icy fingers brush his shoulder. A scream bubbled up from deep within him, but it did not sound like his own. Father Manuel stumbled backward, falling into the chair behind him. The entity lingered, hovering just beyond reach, and whispered promises of torment that would never end. He shut his eyes tightly, praying fervently, though a new prayer alone might not save him. A single drop of cold liquid fell on his neck. He opened his eyes. The shadow was gone. For now. Father Manuel rose unsteadily, his legs shaking beneath him. The rectory felt emptier than ever, yet heavier, as if it bore a memory of the darkness that had touched him. He stumbled to the door, pausing to look back at the empty room. The shadows lingered, curling along the corners like smoke refusing to disperse. He whispered a final prayer, voice hoarse and trembling, begging for forgiveness and protection. Outside, the streets of Córdoba were silent, the wind still, the moon hidden behind clouds. He stepped forward, each footfall hesitant, as though the darkness could reach through the stone and grab him. A distant bell tolled from the old church, low and mournful. Father Manuel knew then that some battles were not meant to be won. The gale had vanished from the church, leaving only traces of cold air and a lingering sense of dread. He looked to the sky, searching for hope in the silver light of the stars, but found only the dark. And yet, he walked on, clutching his faith as one might cling to a fragile lifeline. The priest of Córdoba had survived his final exorcism, but the memory of what he had seen would follow him always. Somewhere in the shadows, a voice whispered his name, soft, patient, eternal. Father Manuel did not turn back. He could not. He walked into the night, carrying both the burden and the warning of what lies beyond the light.